Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 57 of Push to Plat. It is wonderful to be here today speaking with you. Now, what are you doing? Yes, you listening. What are you doing now? Are you playing a game? Going for a walk? Are you driving somewhere? Well, probably shouldn't be doing that, I think. Hopefully, whatever you're doing, you're safe and you're well. You have just me today, just CJ, just the donk, the AffectatiousDonk, to fill up your time. Now, I am warning you at the start here, it'll probably be a little bit of a shorter episode. There's a few things I wanted to talk to you about, just one-on-one, just you and me today before we start. But don't panic, we'll also have all the usual stuff in there as well. So why don't we just jump straight in? Push2Plat has been running now for over a year. We're hitting 57 episodes as of today. We have a spin-off series now with Cool Kid Joe, the Push2Plat Level Cap, the only show that focuses on raising your score and our own. Together, we're going to smash the cap. If you didn't know about Level Cap, it is on a separate feed, but it's available on all good podcast providers. If you're on YouTube, you'll already know because it's on the YouTube channel. Now, I'm not here just to bang on about what we're doing. I mean, obviously. What I'd like to take the opportunity for now is to just let you know about how we're going to move forward. If you've been with the show for some time, you'll know that it wasn't always as it currently is. We had some fantastic episodes with Mr. Unknown 625 where we started off. Just to give you some insight, when we started off, neither of us had actually ever spoken before. We did some back and forth with messaging over a year or two, but never actually physically spoken until about 10 minutes before we recorded the first episode. The reason I tell you this is it just shows you that anyone, absolutely anyone, can do this podcasting gig. And that is definitely what I've learned over the last year and a bit, well, almost 18 months, to be honest with you. Look, it was a fantastic time. He's a streamer and he opened my eyes up to what content creation was. We were then super lucky to have Mindy, the Mind is a City, join us as a guest early on, where we got to learn about trophy guide writing, gaming, collecting, and retro games. I'm sure you'll agree with me that Mindy has been an amazing, fabulous asset to this podcast over the time. In fact, so much of an asset, I went back through the catalogue and she actually recorded 32 episodes of the show with me and various guests. Also some deep dives, including our Halloween deep dives, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and Little Nightmares. It has been wonderful over this time to learn so much about gaming through Mindy's passion. I'm sure if you have been a long time listener, you'll know that my knowledge really only stems back to the last 3 or 4 years of games. It's very focused on the current consoles, the Xbox, the PlayStation, and even a little bit of Switch perhaps. But going beyond that, my knowledge, it's very thin or whatever. So it has been fantastic to learn so much from someone that was playing and immersed in this time, and also meeting guests and friends of hers that are immersed in this time as well. Obviously, it's no secret to you, we have quite distinctive and different gameplay styles. I mean, Mindy is a fantastic completionist. I am perhaps one of the biggest trophy whores you'll come across. There is yet a game I will not play. I suppose on a store I will not visit. It's funny though, despite how different we were in our outlooks in gaming, I think we did come together very, very well and provided a nice balance as well. So for that, that's another thing that I have to thank Mindy for. The reason I'm telling you all this is that I felt over the last month or two that the show has come to a natural, I almost want to say a natural conclusion. I think it's, for anyone that's never done a podcast before, it's a huge amount of work. Yeah, I mean, the talking part is always quite fun. Everyone loves to do that, the guests, ourselves as well. But what goes in behind the scenes? We're a unique podcast, or a unique hobbyist podcast anyway, that we tend to always have a guest, as you will know. Obviously, building a network of guests, building the trust required in a gaming community, and building the trust with people that, myself and Mindy don't even know half the time before we reach out. It does take time. Nothing happens within the week to week that you hear it in. Now, I'm not crying poor here by any reason, listeners. It's been a fantastic experience to make these connections and reach out. One thing that I've learned from doing this, reaching out and talking to these people, is how approachable people are. Yeah, sure, some people are like, nah, I'm not interested in coming on a 2-bit podcast about blah, but the majority of people are. And what I've learned is the majority of people want to tell their story. If we get out of the way, they can tell their story. Now, sure, we haven't achieved that on every episode, but I like to think we're slowly moving more and more in that direction to allow that autonomy to the guests, that even though they are the guest, they can come on, they can lead the topic, they can lead the discussion. And in that way, I believe we are a unique gaming podcast. To create this opportunity, though, as I said, takes a lot of time. It may appear that we just come together each week and talk, but the reality is, again, if anyone has done podcasting in this loose format, where you are, in effect, every week bringing on a new host, it does require a lot of work behind the scenes in planning, in preparation, and also in reading. While I've really enjoyed doing this, for 18 months or so, it does put a big strain on myself. Yeah, as I said, we're a hobbyist podcast. I do bear the brunt of the work in the editing and the community connections as well. What I felt over the last 2 months is, I think, a lack of passion for doing this. For those people that know me, I'm a bit of an eclectic person, I'm told. I like to continue to move forward. I like things to be fresh. I don't prescribe to the fact that we should keep doing the same thing just because we're doing it now. What I'm trying to say in a roundabout way then, listeners, is that I feel that Push2Plat as itself has come to probably a natural conclusion in its current form. Now, over the weekend, I've done a lot of thinking because we have built such a fantastic community through the Discord, through guests, through developers, through Patreons, through other podcasters, through people all around the world. Now, this is not something that I just want to abandon and I just want to give away. And I wasn't sure what direction I wanted to take. For those of you that are familiar with the podcast, you'll know that we're up to 57 episodes. A good portion of those episodes have been one-on-one based episodes. There's been a couple of solo episodes like today, I suppose, but they are thin on the ground. Look, if you go right back to the beginning, I think it was a different dynamic then as well. I wouldn't advise you to go right back to the beginning if you haven't done that. The recording quality is dreadful, and of course that is fully on my end. If nothing else, I have perhaps improved slightly in that department. So even though I jest a little bit, I do take this very, very seriously. So I was figuring, how is the best way to move forward? And I really want to take this opportunity now to thank the Loot Bros. I did a guest appearance with the Loot Bros on Saturday, Australian time. I believe it's just gone live today as of time of recording here, Monday. And I thought about it. I thought, this might be the last time that I do it. And I went in and I had fun, and it was relaxed and it was carefree. It reignited the passion for me, I think, but it reignited a different passion for me. I like the current structure of our show, but I want to go further. I want to do more. I want to have the time to research. I want to have the flexibility that a one-on-one podcast will provide. The flexibility I'm talking about here is to maintain a high guest percentage like we have done in the past, but also to allow for more research-based topics. We've already covered a lot of topics in short form, but there are so many wonderful topics I would really like to dive into. These require time, research, and work on my end. I fully understand this. One thing that I'm hoping by moving to this new format is it will also alleviate the strain of recording from country to country. Obviously, there will still be plenty of that happening at this time with our guests, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. But this will allow me to create content to pass on to you in a timely fashion and just relieve the burden of reliance on internet and connections, because as we've said before and joked, Australia, especially without the NBN here, still is a challenging beast at times. I'm also very conscious of the length of the podcast. At 2 hours, I'm sure there are some people that love it. They're grinding, they're playing, they're whatevering, but that is getting pretty long. Maybe some people would like even longer, but in reality, I think it's too long. So I'm going to work to bring the length down. And I understand the full irony that the opening has now hit 10 minutes of me talking about what's happening here. But I wanted you to know. So I do once again thank Mindy for her help, for her service. It was wonderful for me and important for me to be able to pay Mindy for her time, not only financially, but in games. It's something that I know many hobbyist podcasts cannot do, but it's something that I felt was important to me. It's something that I wanted to do, and it's reflective of our community. So listeners, know full well that it's a mutual and agreeable parting of the ways just for the podcast. Of course, we remain friends, and everything is balanced and in quota. So, in saying all of this, I have hit over 80 recordings now online, which is insane. I've noticed that we've been doing over 4, or an average 4 a month, which means 1 every single week. The nature of the show hasn't allowed me to take a break. So every single week we've been on, I've been editing and writing. It's time that I took a little break, but only a short break. So there will be no main episode next week of the show. There will still be the Push2Plat level cap. It will continue on each Friday if it interests you. The show will also be moved to the main feed. Now, what this means is if you don't want to listen to it, you can just skip over it. If you're listening on YouTube, you're already used to this, so it's no change at all. I fully understand that today will be goodbye for some listeners, but this is something that I want to do. And this is something that I believe will continue to ensure our growth. April has been a fantastic month. We're already sitting at over 1,000 listens before this episode. I know the importance of this show. I know the importance this show has been in the past. And I know the direction that I wish to travel and take it forward. If the direction is not for you, I fully understand. I would highly recommend other hobbyist podcasts. I know we all know about the big ones, but you do have the Loot Bros. They're fantastic, they're comedic, they're edgy, and the sort of line is a little blurry, which I think, if you like my humor, I think you're going to like it as well. If you want a more streamlined experience, a more high-polished quality product, if you want honest hosts that talk about games they know, games they love, and have an overall affinity for the PlayStation and gamers in general, then you can't go past Platcast. It is a fantastic weekly podcast, well researched, written, and edited. I highly recommend you check them out. If you'd like something that covers beyond the PlayStation, then go check out Game Stuff. It's on the Proven Gamer Network. The 3 hosts there cover not only PlayStation, but PC and Nintendo, Xbox. They cover everything. Board games, you name it, card games, they have knowledge on it. They are passionate gamers that play, love, laugh games. You can't do wrong. Having said that, I know today is also hello for people. Each week in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've noticed a steady incline of new listeners. If you're a new listener, none of this even matters to you. So now just skip forward another minute or two and we'll get into the normal flow of things. But I would like to welcome you, obviously, and let you rest assured that the show will continue in a new form going forward. If you're a Patreon, thank you. If you're a Patreon that decides that this isn't the direction that you wish to go, still thank you, and I completely understand. I'm sure you can understand that this is the direction that I need to proceed in and wish to proceed in to do the best that I possibly can. For the Patreons that are standing beside us still, I wish to welcome you even further on the next direction, and I hope that you enjoy where we're headed. And finally, if you're not a Patreon, and you can still afford it, I mean, who can afford anything these days. But if you could afford $1 or $2 or $5 or $10 or whatever you like to help us out, help us out. I can guarantee you, on my word, on my honesty online, that all the money goes back into the show 100%. What your membership will buy you if you join Patreon is Discord recognition. The Discord still is there. It's vibrant. It's alive. It will also, at the $10 level, the champion level, will provide you extra bonus content. Now, I spent a couple of hours this morning for the first time in a long time sitting down and researching our first new After Dark, I suppose, although we might have to work on that name, our first new bonus episode. Now, I got so involved in this, I'm actually thinking of chopping it into smaller parts and releasing it over the next 2 weeks, just because I'm so eager to get it out there. This, of course, will only be available to Patreons, and it is going to be focused on the history of music games, the Plastic Instrument Edition. Come on, I know you love your rock bands. I know you love your Guitar Hero. But do you know how we even got here? How did we get to the living room rock god status? Well, that is what I've been reading. That is what I want to share with you if you become a Patreon. Have a think, jump over to Patreon and jump in. So I'm going to wind it up here. A massive thank you to every single guest that has come on to this point. A massive thank you to Mr. Unknown 625 for starting this dream with me. And who would have thought it would have gone this far? And then thank you to Mindy, the wonderful The Mind is a City, for all the work she has put in over the last year. I wish you the best, Mindy, on your future content creation, on your guides, and I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future. So listeners, the heavy stuff is over. Let's actually, if you made it this far, let's actually continue then with a run of the show. Now, as I said, it will be a shorter episode today because I need a rest. I've already said that. I'm an old man. You know these things about me already. Having said that, I do want to push some things out there for you today. In 2 weeks, when the regular show returns, we do have a guest. In fact, we are going to be, well, I don't know if I should tell you what it is. It's going to be a mini deep dive into a game. It's a game that I think many of you know, but maybe many of you do not have the time to play, with a passionate expert. Following that up, we have a return of the current world #1 PlayStation gamer. Hakoom will be joining us again in the next month. And I'm also very delighted to bring an Australian streamer to your ears, a very high-ranked Australian, someone that I've never had the privilege of talking to until very, very recently. And I think it's okay if I let you in on a scoop, but she has also been commissioned. She's also accepted, I should say, the role of providing a trophy roast on my account, which sounds like a nightmare for anyone to anticipate and undertake. But she has agreed to do it. She has a very cutting, dark sense of humor. She's highly intelligent. She's a wonderful person. So I can't wait to see what we get. And that will be pushed out for all listeners of the show, and I believe on YouTube as well. So more about the future content, though, when I come back in a couple of weeks. Let's jump into today's episode. And look, I want to start it off with a little community love, if you like. And I want to start it off here with a competition. Now, I know you're like, well, I'm not going to do competitions. I don't care about that. That's just crazy. That's just CJ pushing himself on, with these virtual rewards. And yes, look, that's partly true, but this is not my competition. This is the wonderful Eigenspace from PSN Profiles. Eigenspace, a previous guest on the show, an Atelier game expert, also a pretty big JRPG game expert. She's written some fantastic guides, including a trials guide just recently for her 100th platinum. If you know of her, you'll know she runs some amazing events on PSN Profiles. I know she's been having a little bit of a rest, but through some badgering, I think, on my behalf, and I'm sure many others, she's come back and she's offering the Eurovision Gaming Challenge, the arcade edition. Now, obviously, we know because of the COVID-19 and the situation around the world, Eurovision, to much sadness, has been cancelled this year. Every year for the last 10 or 15 years, myself and my partner and a group of friends have gathered and have drunk as we watch Eurovision. Now, the funny thing in Australia is it happens at like 2 a.m. in the morning, so it's usually replayed on a Sunday night here. So this usually happens between about 8 and midnight on Sunday. Then we get up bright and early at 6 and go to work, which is it's not a great combination. So maybe the fact that it is cancelled is isn't. It can't be a good thing, but maybe it's a good thing for the hangover this year instead. Obviously, if you're used to Eurovision, it's a celebration of everything I love. It's a celebration of music. It's a celebration of cheese, of spam in music, I suppose. It's over the top. It's ridiculous. It's intelligent. It's hilarious, and it's fun. But most of all, it's community, and you know this through the voting at the end. Eigen has run events in the past year on this theme. This year, she is running, as I said, the arcade edition. You can jump on PSN profiles for the full gist of it, but I'll give you the little spiel here. There are two categories. It says here, Eurovision 2019 was won by the Netherlands' Duncan Lawrence with his song Arcade. Look, it's fantastic. It was a fantastic song. He had the steam coming out of the steam jet. He had the arms behind him while he was playing the piano, which I love. And he was just on fire. It's just fantastic. So anyway, in homage to his song, where he sings about putting pennies into a slot, a few things we could do there, but we won't. You must complete either a game with an arcade mini game in it or a true arcade game. Now, look, there's a ton of true arcade games out there, but there's also a stack of games with mini games. I mean, any Japanese game pretty much has a mini game. The second part is you need to tell us or tell her what your favorite would be Eurovision Song Contest 2020 entry. Even though the artists will not be competing, we should still share in the love of the music. View songs from 41 countries that were set to compete this year at the official YouTube channel. She has all the links. She has game suggestions. She has some prizes up here as well. It is free to enter. Anyone can enter on the site. She has tracking. Look, it's going to be fantastic. If you've got nothing better to do, and look, face it, you're sitting in your house now listening to me, you don't have anything better to do, then jump on this, meet some people, have some fun, play some sort of arcade or mini game. Look, you're going to anyway. So next, let's turn to what I have been playing this week. And I want to start off with the Patreon producers games and just a little update on where we're up to. There are currently 4 games in rotation. We start with the Death Stranding by Scottish Noob. The game is complete as far as story. I've talked about this many times. I'll just leave it out there that I thought while it starts very, very slowly in the first 2 to 3 chapters, it really picks up about chapter 5 or 6. From chapter 9 through to the end, it had me hooked. I couldn't stop. I did mainline the story, which is going to make the plot unbearably boring, I know, because I only have the boring stuff left, but it was a fantastic experience. It was completely fucked up at the end. It was completely out there. So my progress, Mr. Noob, in this game is I have a lot of deliveries to do. Still have to build some roads to streamline this process. I still have to level up all the things to level 3. There are many, many monotonous fetch quest things left to do in this game, but I do have a year or 10 months now, I believe. So I'm just going to keep chipping away at it. And it actually is a surprisingly relaxing, beautiful game when that's all you have to do. When you can avoid the BT areas where possible, or, you can get on the bike and scream through them. So I look forward to chipping away at that game over the next 10 months, because I'm sure that's how long it will take. And thank you for your recommendation. The second game I'll throw out here by Sprunky. This is Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed on the Xbox. As we know, no achievements or trophies. Definitely no achievements, but no trophies on the PlayStation, but a full set on the Xbox. This is the one game that I have yet to start. I'm really itching for an Assassin's Creed game, but the longer this goes on, I think the itch will only get stronger. So I am going to hold that to later in the year. I normally play an Assassin's game around October, November. It's my birthday in November, and I love to celebrate with an Assassin's game. So I have that bookmarked for later in the year. The third game by Patreon, recommended by Patreon producer Olcero, is Moon Hunters. Now, this shows you the desperation of the man. To get someone to play this game, he actually had to Patreon me. Not just me, but anyone, I suppose, because nobody plays this game. Now, he assured me it's a great game, so I don't know why nobody plays it. It's an ultra rare platinum, I believe. So, if that concerns you, get on it, because he assures me it's not that hard. Now, what it is, I didn't have a clue what it was, but what it is, it's I want to say like a roguelike in a way. I mean, maybe it changes later on, Ulcero, and I'll find this, but you play 5 days or whatever. It's a 5 day game. At the end of the fifth day, the game is over and you reset. You can unlock different characters depending on the things that you do in the 5 days or whatever. The trophies seem to be, acquired for doing different things in the 5 days. So I'm not sure if it's a random generation thing, generator type map situation where it's different every time, or if it's only different if you pick the different characters. I see there's also cooking trophies in this game for combining the ingredients. There's 99 of those, I believe. So that's going to be fun because I understand there is no guide and I'm not going to keep track of it. So unless the game is somewhere which I didn't find yet, that's going to be a nightmare. But look, in my 5 day run or whatever, the days can be very short because you sort of move. It's a top-down view, if you like. You move to through the woods or through a farm area or whatever, and when you get to the camp and you rest, that ends the day. So I have a feeling a playthrough could be done in 20 to 25 minutes, but potentially a lot quicker as well. But if you're enjoying it. One of the things that struck me in this game was the soundtrack. Just sort of playing, there was no real sound, and then an acoustic harp, well, of course a harp is acoustic, CJ, an acoustic harp dropped in with a lovely female soprano voice over the top, and I actually just stopped and listened to the song. It was a full indie song in there, full drop, and I really enjoyed it. So for that element, I like it. The combat seems to be just button masher, style of thing or whatever else, but you can level up your character through different decisions or whatever, and it seems to culminate, or at least the path I did, culminated in a boss fight, which I proceeded to lose, which got me a trophy, ironically. So I think I have 2 trophies in that game in one playthrough or series. So I think that's a pretty good start, and I'm trying to figure that into my rotation of games at the moment, but I think it'll be like the start of a session type game. I think a little palate cleanser or whatever to get into. So I'm looking forward to getting to learn and understand that game a little bit better. And then our last game from Zador VP, Patreon producer Zador VP, Rogue Galaxy. So I'm always a little bit nervous about what Zador, recommends or whatever else, because he's a proper gamer, listeners. As you know, if you've heard him speak, he's a proper gamer. But look, he hasn't steered me wrong that often, and so I have to take this game somewhat seriously. It is a PS2 game. It does do that fantastic thing where it doesn't fill the screen either, which just irritates the living shit out of me. But once you get up beyond that, it's okay. Yes, it's a little bullshit at the start. I found getting through the first section and the first tutorial boss took a couple of goes or whatever, but it definitely doesn't at this point have the bullshit spike of difficulty that a PS2 game has. Because it's an RPG at its basis, you can obviously level up. So hopefully, or I'm hoping that if I keep leveling or over leveling, the game won't be too bad. It's a very beautiful looking game for a direct port, and it has a ton of cutscenes, which I didn't expect. So it does seem to blend a nice amount of discovery and adventure or whatever for me, exploration, I suppose. It doesn't seem like the systems are overly complex or complicated in it, although I don't really understand this flow thing yet. It seems to be you find different things and then you put them in, and that's basically your skill tree, and it unlocks different skills as you go, or power-ups and whatever else. But look, we'll see. Like a typical PS2 game, it does seem to have a reliance on killing you a lot, and of course, there's no autosave in these games, which is fantastic because, why would you put that in there, obviously? So, but there are, which is a wonderful thing, most of these games don't have, there are teleportation areas, which act as save points, and you can actually teleport all around the place. So that seems like it's going to be not too painful. I'm sure if you've played this game before, Rogue Galaxy, you know it's a masterpiece from everything I've read. So I'm looking forward to getting into that beyond the 2-hour mark. I think there's multiple chapters I'm looking here. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure there's going to be a difficulty spike at some point, and I understand it's 80 hours, so there must be some random trophies in there as we go. So now if you want to get if you want to nominate a game, listeners, by all means you can. You will have to join the Patreon to do that at the top tier, at the $20 tier. You can nominate whatever you want within reason across the Xbox, Persona, across the Persona, across the Xbox, the PlayStation, which is basically a Persona machine these days for me, and the Nintendo Switch. I will attempt, in all honesty, to platinum the game. So therefore, don't give me a 10 out of 10 game, because that's a difficulty, because that won't happen. Don't give me Elder Scrolls 6, because the scary thing is that probably could happen after my Final Fantasy 14 addiction. But we're gonna draw the line on a few games. If that's something that interests you, go and check on the Patreon. I have a calendar year from when you join and submit your game to do it in. So, what other games can I share with you? Well, look, picked up a lot of stuff, actually, in the last few days. This Deliver Us the Moon. I picked up Trials of Mana, played about 5 minutes of it, so I'm not going to talk to it. MotoGP 20, which I will briefly talk to, only because it's a racing game. Look, it's good. This series is getting better and better. There's no question. It's getting more sim as well. It's definitely becoming a simulator. It's also becoming difficult, even on the easiest settings. The handling, everything is becoming more realistic. The career mode is much more fleshed out already than the previous 2 iterations. One of the wonderful things is there is 25 online races, but they've finally moved to the right direction, I think, for racing games, where you can actually load into the lobby. You don't have to win the race. There are AI people in there. You've got to hope to get in a race with other humans, but because, it's just released in the last few days, that's still happening. And you can actually just idle the whole race. As long as somebody finishes the race or whatever, 30 seconds will time out, and then that will actually count as one of the 25 online races that you have to do. So technically you could just leave your console on. You don't actually even have to input in the menus. It will just slowly cycle through. Look, it's not going to be a fast process or whatever else, but it's preferable to sitting and actually playing the online modes if you don't really enjoy that. And because you don't need to win, it takes the skill factors out. But look, there's still going to be some tough trophies in there, although my understanding is they've taken out the win on the ultra hard difficulty season trophy, so more manageable, I suppose, for everybody else. I finally finished the Tony Stewart sprint car racing. I've talked to that on various platforms as well. Look, if you like sprint car racing, it's fantastic. It really is. It has all 3 classes of the sprint cars. It has all the licensed tracks in the US as well. Sprint car racing is all about the drift. The mechanics handle well. It's fast. The races are short, just like in real life. It does have the qualification, levels and qualification stage, and the different heats as well as the main event. The online is incredibly smooth. Obviously there's not a lot of people playing it at the moment, so you would have to boost that, but it's only 10 wins or whatever. I have some tips here that came from a very high-ranked French player that I've run into recently, so I thank you, sir. If you do play this, one of the biggest grinding trophies is to complete the 10 seasons. You do need to complete 1 season in each car and win it, so you'll do that, but then from that you can simulate. Now, you could simulate the last season 10 times, but you can actually enter all 3 seasons at the same time, and you can simulate everything. Obviously, you're simulating from race to race, so it takes a little while, but you're getting all the prize money. The final event in each series is worth a substantial amount. It's worth 151,000 in the main amount, so it's worth racing that. It only takes a few minutes to win. You can upgrade your car if you want, but you're never going to win on simulation anyway by simulating the result. Seems to be a standard 20th place. Now, by the time you simulated the 10 seasons, or the 7 you'll need, you should have the 5 million trophy as well. Obviously, if you're doing this, you're going to have a grind then for the 200 race wins. Just jump into either jump into online if you know someone who's prepared to just bend over for 100 and something races. But if you don't have a GIMP in the garage, then what I'd suggest is just getting the second controller and playing in split screen. You can leave the second controller idle, and you'll just rack up the wins. You can set it to minimum length of 2 laps. You can skip the qualification and the heats and the practice. So you're looking at about a minute per race, and maybe 30 or minute in the load screens between. But look, overall the load screens are quite good in this game, so it's good. It's very good for the price of it. Look, I'll throw out a little bit of rainbows, toilets, and unicorns, because I think every other spam hunter's had a go at it. Everyone's warned me against playing it, but why would that stop me? And look, it's hilarious. It's frustrating because it's a one-hit game. I actually, when I started, everyone said the controls are dreadful. And look, I quite enjoyed it to start with because, I'm a bit of a loose player. So having a bit of a loose controls doesn't really worry me. But I can see what they mean because the final boss in the first world or whatever, it's a bullet hell situation. So if you tap the analog stick, you go flying across the screen, which can be a little bit frustrating in a bullet hell situation. And because it's one hit death, it means you have to do the whole world again. But look, I'm sure it's manageable. I don't know how much harder it gets if you master that loose control. But it's a frustration tester, I suppose. And then, look, I spoke about this Freak Out Calamity TV show on Level Cap, and I don't want to speak about it again, other than I really enjoyed it. I gave a bit of a rundown of the trophies and what you can do there if you want to cheese it a little bit, but it's a fun game, and I see that a few of our listeners, independently of myself, I'm sure, have come across this game and played it, which is fantastic to see. Now, I'm sure they're sitting there, if they are listening, if they manage to get through all this self-indulgent twaddle at the start, if they got this far, they're probably like, well, the game, shit, he's just pushed another piece of garbage onto us. But maybe they enjoyed it. Look, I don't know. It's impossible to know. Maybe you'll have to buy it yourself and try it. It does have 2 stacks. It can be done in 4.5 to 6 hours, whatever. It's fine. It's good. It's good. And then the last thing I'll throw on you is Persona 5 Royal. Now, what I love about this game is the way I pronounce it, because it clearly says Royal, but I notice every time I talk about it, I change. Sometimes they say Royale, which I sort of like, Persona 5 Royale. I don't know. I think it's allowable too, because this game is such an eccentric, piece of crap. Can we say that? No, look, it's good, but it's the eccentricity of this game is off the charts or whatever. And it's one of the few games I play where it will put you to sleep because there's so much narrative between action. Like, I'm sure you can skip it all somehow if you want. That's not really the point of it, because that's what 90% of the game is. But if you can survive through that, I'm just about to finish the 3rd palace, this afternoon when this recording, eventually it stops. Hopefully it stops soon at some point. And look, I'm enjoying the dungeons. Are fantastic. The second one so far being my favorite. They're really, really fun, but there's a lot of busy work to get there. And if you're the sort of player that likes ticking off lists, if you like deciding if you go to the diner or you wash your clothes or go to the bathhouse, see your older off the charts doctor has got some illegal business going on there or something. If you like that sort of stuff, this game is great because you can sort of move between tick the boxes. You can visit your friends, your school friends, confidants. It's eccentric, isn't it? They call them that. You could visit them as well, and you can see the little levels going up. It's one of those games. It's like it's a gamer's game. It's a gamer's game where your levels go up. So you're like, yeah, I'm achieving shit when really you haven't done anything in the last 6 hours because you're waiting for to get to the next dungeon. But if you can live through all that to get to the dungeons, it's good. And look, I'm not shitting on it. It's basically Blue Reflection just bloated out, into 90 hours instead of a sharp, snappy 30 hours. There's not a lot of nudity in this. In fact, there's no nudity, which is surprising so far for the Japanese. The comments are very staid, but you might enjoy that. Not everybody has a filthy mind or whatever. But look, it is fun or whatever, and the story is good. Like, it is good, and I mean, yes, there is that randomly generated dungeon as well. So if you get to the point of necking yourself because nothing's happening, you can go spend some time out there. I would recommend doing the Royale edition if you're not a trophy sadist. If you just want to get the plat, it seems to be very difficult to miss anything at this point. Having said that, I'm sure I'll get to the end, 90 hours in, and realize I've missed something and don't get the trophy, and then I'll be screwed. But it does seem way easier than the base game, and I understand there's a ton of extra content, which is just awesome. You wouldn't notice because there's so much content already, but the fact that there's more in there just makes the whole experience more, I suppose, for me. I don't know, but look, I'm not bagging on it in any way because every night this week, there's nothing else you can do here anymore. It's probably the same for you. You can look at your partner, you can think about how long you've been together, and you may die like this, depending on what happens in the next few months. But you just regret those decisions. But maybe not. It could be worse, couldn't it? I mean, could you imagine some people you could be locked up with in this? I've been reading about people, like I know, in China they said, people came out and started getting divorced, but I've been reading stories here in Sydney of people that are actually basically divorced, that, were just basically in the settlement stages. This thing hit and now they're basically screwed and having to live together now for months, which, pass the knife or chop your head off situation every night at dinner must be fantastic. But no wonder the alcohol consumption is rising in Australia, which is it's already off the charts. So that's fantastic to see. But, look, the restrictions are loosening, so hopefully, the doors will open on those houses soon, and we'll find out who's still alive and who's not. It'd make a great reality TV show, though, wouldn't it? I so with my ex. But anyway, look, that could go on Fox. I could probably say Fox. They could put it there instead of the NRL. That'd be fantastic. But anyway, look, it's a little bit too much Australianisms, perhaps now for you listeners. So we should just move on. Look, now, where was I? That's right, I was talking about Persona 5, Look, we just got off on such a tangent, See, this is why I need the break, listeners, because when we come back, it's going to be a script. It's going to be more streamlined, There'll still be sidebars and garbage, but overall, it'll be more streamlined, I think. So, look, I don't have anything else to add to what I've played today. I have a pile the size of an elephant's nads to get through at the moment, and this Persona 5 it's holding me back. But as I said, that's where we're at. Each night I've been playing it. There's nothing else to do, and it does suck you in. And like the other night I played it to like 1 a.m. Which is not bad for me at my age. So I'm gonna try and keep doing that and push through, because I'm 35 hours in, which technically is at least over a third now, if things are going right. So, and I got the feel for it now, so it might even speed up. I mean, the next 30 hours won't speed up, but the gameplay might speed up. I don't know. We'll see, and we don't want to get too distracted with Trials of Mana and other stuff, because it's another 40 hours a game or something like this. But what I wanted to do here, with no subtlety at all, is just link into this. We had the Easter sale, which not bad, but this big in Asia or big in Japan sale. What isn't big in Japan these days, but big in Japan sale, and it's really good. The NA one is great, the EU one is really, really good, and I'm sure Joe will tell us more on Level Cap. But I believe that the Japanese sale, whatever they're calling it there, it's quite good too. If you're into cheap, nasty VNs, the prices are really low there. So have a look. And the only reason I bring that up is because we're rambling now, is that I don't know if you've been here long enough, you may know that I played a bit of Dragon's Quest 11, quite enjoyed it, got in 40 hours or whatever else. My PS4 corrupted, backed up all my save, but forgot to back up the Dragon Quest 11, initialized, formatted, kick the system out the window, whatever you have to do these days to make the thing work again. Put in Dragon's Quest 11 like a week later, maybe 2. Keep going, and then I realized I'd lost my save, so not happy, threw the disc in the pool, and stayed there for a while, and then managed to trade it in though, still. So thank you EB Games or whatever, got like about $1 or something, and then I was done with it. But I've been waiting now. Every month I'm like, I should play that, and Persona 5 has only made me feel more like I should go back. And then I see that game is on the sale for half price, so I picked that up, because it's a good chance I won't ever get to that, but it's important to have the dream or whatever. So, but that being said, there's a ton of stuff. There's also some really good VR stuff, and I know someone mentioned about doing a VR topic, which I really like. That's one of these things that we might do through the Patreon program. I think we'll get a bit of research in and really dig into it. So I think we're going to do that, because coming to winter here, I'll play some more VR. But that being said, there's a lot of good VR games in that sale as well. To check out, and the Easter sale if you manage to get this before the 30th in your country. So what would another week be without some new games? And look, there's some pretty good stuff coming this week. I haven't had a chance to play any of these 3 games at the moment, although I know they're all dropping today as of recording, or tomorrow as well. I've watched trailers though, and I have a bit of experience with a couple of them, so that qualifies me, why not, to speak on them. And the first one here is Down the Rabbit Hole, April 27th release today, by the developer Cortopia AB. This is a PSVR only game. My understanding is, it says here, is there truth to the Cheshire Cat's declaration? We are all mad here. Definitely. You will soon find out. Down the Rabbit Hole is a VR adventure that serves as a prequel story to Lewis Carroll's classic, Alice in Wonderland's Tale. I always forget. Was he the pedophile, Carroll? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I think he was. Anyway, not to judge, it's a different time, I suppose. In the game, you will discover a girl in search of her lost pet Patches that has wandered into Wonderland. You will guide her as she moves through the mysterious world looking for her missing pet, but which way? So this is only a 100% game, so I know some of your eyes are already filming over. You're not going to pay any money for a 100% game. It's a waste of time. But look, if you're not in that, and like it'll really turn you off when you see the price, because it's like 25 Australian, so you'll be like, nah, that's bullshit. But, if you're not dictated by the value of trophies, for a minute here, you might consider this. 100% game, 12 trophies, 1 gold, 3 silver, 8 bronze. It looks like, now I did pick it up, so I'm looking forward to jumping into this. It does look like it's going to be highly narrative, maybe a little bit of an exploration, but overall a push forward narrative style walking sim VR game. Obviously, with any of these games, check the trailer out first before purchasing, but it looks nice. It looks interesting. The next game, look, this is pretty hardcore. Look, even I won't play this sort of a game, so that says something. But I know there are people that love this game. I know there might even be someone listening, who likes this series. The Mud Runner developers here, Saber Interactive, they're now going in. They're moving off the mud. They're moving into the snow. Snow Runner comes tomorrow, April 28th. Get ready for the next generation of off-road experience. Drive powerful vehicles and overcome extreme open environments. Mud, torrential waters, snow, frozen lakes with 40 unique vehicles to unlock, upgrade, and customize. Go solo or play with other players in 4-player co-op. So this is a sim, and this is hardcore. Like, these are massive trucks or whatever else, and the game is slow. It takes hours on one map to finish. So go in forewarned. From my understanding, is that Mud Runner was a fantastic game, and the fact you could do it in co-op just added to the experience, of it all. So I'm sure this will be the same thing. It has 38 trophies, 1 plat, 4 gold, 13 silver, 20 bronzes. There is no price at this stage on the store, but I would expect this to come in at a full-priced game tomorrow. Looks very beautiful in the trailer. I will give it that. And then the last one, now this is one that I highly recommend. I have not played this, but I played the precursor to this, and this is Telling Lies. This comes tomorrow as well, as of April 28th. This is not your standard FMV game, developed by the wonderful Sam Barlow. If you're thinking, how do I know that name, you possibly have played Her Story. I mean, he did some Silent Hill stuff, I believe, as well, back in the day, Shattered Memories, but particularly Her Story. Tragically not available on the PlayStation or Xbox at this stage, but available on iOS. So if you're familiar with that game, you'll know what this is. If you're not, I'll just give you the blurb. Telling Lies sits you in front of an anonymous laptop loaded with a stolen NSA database full of footage. The footage covers 2 years in the intimate lives of 4 people whose stories are linked by a shocking incident. Explore the database by typing search terms, watch the clips, where those words are spoken, and piece together your story. Unlike anything you've played before, Telling Lies is an intimate and intense experience, a game where you decide the future. So it is very different. I mean, Her Story was very different. My only preface on this game is that I played Her Story on an iOS, on an iPad. I wish I'd played it on the computer because there's a lot of typing in the search engines in that game involved. I imagine this may be similar. I'm not sure. So the only concern for me in this game would be the UI. But look, it's easier to play on console, and of course we get trophies. So I'll definitely pick it up there, as I'm sure some of you will, and we will find out how that works. It has 16 trophies, 1 plat, 9 gold, 4 silver, and 2 bronze. So for a week of things slowing down, that's a pretty good showing for the indie market, I suppose. So if you're familiar with the shows, this is the point where we drop in a topic or whatever, or a guest. So as I said, what's gonna sort of happen, well, definitely for the next month, because it looks like we have every week with a guest, which it would be nice to have a break. It would be nice to have a break at some point, but from the guests. But we'll see. But we'll have that, or whatever. But what I'm, as I said, hoping is that we won't always follow this format. Like, look, I love talking about what I've played, but you're probably like, I don't care. I've had enough. Get it off. And I know that there are other people that say that about the topic. They're like, I don't care. Get it off. Get on. Whatever. I hate trophies. So I know that there's 2 sides to every coin or whatever, but what I would like to do, as I said, is shorten up some of the episodes and do some more factual-based stuff, obviously starting with these plastic instruments. And what I realized doing this when I started today, listeners, was that I wanted to do the history of music games. Like, how did we get these Japanese rhythm games we have today. And that's how it started. And then I realized when you get into this, there's so much there. And I ended up deviating to the plastic instruments. So, down the track, I look forward to doing, more on the Japanese, rhythm games, and then, even the Western rhythm games. It's fascinating. But, look, you're not here for that now, and I'm not ready for that now. So, that's a perfect conundrum. We'll just have to leave it and move on. So as I said, this would normally be like the topicy bit, it would be like backing and forthing, fascinating or not compared to what you thought, So this is probably the point now. If you're like, yeah, just this is not going to work for me anymore. This is CJ. Fuck it, I'm out. Then as I said, it's been wonderful to have you and everything else. But like if you're like, yeah, fuck it, I want to see what happens here. Will the train just go off the rails? Will it totally derail? Or will this arsey Aussie bastard, will he pull something out here that I haven't seen before in the coming weeks? And who knows? Look, I don't even know either. It's exciting for both of us. I think it is exciting. I think so. But we'll find out. We'll find out anyway, won't we? So as I said, that's I'm not going to just keep saying as I said to fill in the topic. I promise you, listeners, because as hilarious as that would be to just talk for 20 minutes about the fact that I'm exhausted, like mentally exhausted from doing this. I think that I just didn't have a topic in me today, so I don't want to go down that route or whatever. But what I'd like to do instead is go to the platinum shoutouts instead of the topic. Just keep mentioning that there's no topic. Now, there are a lot of people today. There's 13 people. There's a lot of games too, so you'll have to brace yourself. There's a cheeky bastard in here as well. I see that's just put in tons. But we'll get to him in due course. If you are interested in getting your platinums shouted out and a little bit of interaction back and forth with the guests as they come on, which we've had in the past, you can drop it on the PS4 community. It's a free community. I see it's still growing, so that's fantastic. Jump in or whatever else. Invite somebody in if you want to. Don't invite somebody that doesn't, want to earn a trophy or a plat, because it's just weird and awkward. But you can do that if you want, I suppose. It's a free world. If it's easier, you can post them in the Discord as well. I understand the app, it doesn't work on phones for some reason. Sony obviously trying to save money. They might need it to develop a PS5 at some point in the next 10 years. So, that's the current state of play for you on that situation. Could you imagine a state of play? They just the next state of play is just about the fact that there's no app anymore for the communities. And the controller. They just have the controller on the background. That could be. That's something terrifying to look forward to, I suppose. But I'm just thinking about that now. It would be funny. Even you, Mr. Serious Gamer, you have to find that amusing. The fact that no one's seen the PS5, the real PS5, not the dev kit one. But you've seen the controller, you've seen everything else. But you haven't seen any of the games because none of them are coming out either. They've been pushed. But it is what it is. We're getting sidetracked again. It's tiring. It's tiring doing this sometimes, listeners. So you can jump in and get these shouted out, as I said, and we'll have a back and forward, and look, because I haven't done it for like 10 or 20 minutes. It's a good time to plug the show as well. I see we're at 89 listeners on YouTube, or subscribers. Who knows what that number means, but it seems to mean something to PR people. I'm not quite convinced. In fact, that's one of the, now that the show's becoming a bit more freeform, that is one of the avenues. There's a few controversial avenues I'd like to go under, that I'm sure no one else will want to stand with me when I do. So, and that is one of them, PR and these codes and how all this really works, because it's fascinating. It's fascinated me over the last few months, and these arbitrary numbers and all this sort of stuff. But that's something that I'd love to. And I'm trying to source a guest as well. Obviously, it's a difficult topic to source a guest on, but we will. We will. And we'll find out why 100 is a magic number on YouTube, and why retention and things like this are not important. But, look, it's a fascinating world you don't care about. So, but other than to say, jump on, even if you don't listen to it on YouTube. I don't. I think I subscribe to us. I thought I probably should. You can as well, and we'll see if we can get that number to 100, because if we can get that number to 100, then we're going to find out what happens. Look, I have a sneaking suspicion nothing happens, because when you get to 100, they say now you need to get 150. It's one of these, penis extension type situations, where it's just, it's just the tip. Now I need a little bit more, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm interested to see what happens at 100. And me, I'm not going to buy my way into that. So we're going to have to do it ourselves if you so wish, to help us out there. You so can, and do it. So anyway, Platinum Club Platinum shoutouts. As I said, there's a lot. Let's start with Mr. Dino Raw, number 987, Thunderpaw AS Vita. This is one of my favorite Radar games, of the last couple of months, sir. So congratulations. It's a fun game. And 987, you're getting very close to 1,000. I don't know if it's a secret or if you're going to share with us or you don't know what it is yet, but I look forward to seeing what happens there on 1,000. Good luck. Good luck to you there, sir, on those last couple. Till you get there. Red Beard Rick, he's got some big ones. Number 137, Assassin's Creed 2. It's a very serious game on the PS3, I believe. I believe it's PS3. Number 138, Black Mirror. Decent enough game by THQ Nordic. Easy peasy if you use the fantastic text walkthrough by The Mind is a City. So this is a high span game. It's pretty janky as well. The one problem with this game is that, especially if you're trying to play in like a pro or some sort of HDR, you can't see anything. The game is as dark as all get out. So I could have said something else there, but I'm going to go with all get out. So it's a little bit safer, although we don't need to be safe all the time. It's important not to be sometimes. So yeah, you need to turn up the brightness settings a lot because you can't see anything. But there's some funny voice acting from memory in this game as well. And look, THQ Nordic, we haven't heard a lot about them lately. I mean, they bought. Can you imagine? Like they bought everything. They bought so many franchises before this, world pandemic. The end of the world financial crisis that we're all going to go into now. I wonder if they're over leveraged. I wonder if there's a guy there now thinking, maybe buying 100 studios in the last 2 years was not the most financially sound decision considering the position we're in. But look, maybe not, because they seem to have, more money than God. So we will see what happens there. I don't know. I'm sure it's not what they planned on happening. Obviously, it's not what anyone planned on happening. But I mean, at one point they had 85 games in development. It's just mind blowing, or whatever. But maybe they'll be all PS5 launch titles. So they got plenty of time there to worry about that, if that is the case. Now, here's the Joker that I'm talking about, Cool Kid Joe XBL. Obviously, if you follow Level Clap, he's a lovely gentleman. He's also probably the most prolific trophy hunter I know at this point, and that is no joke. He's a machine. And I know like I read a lot of stuff about teams and just general bitching in the community. That's a fascinating topic you'd love to touch on, and probably a Patreon one though, for obvious reasons. Sealed episode. And he's not a team at all, and he works full time. He works serious hours as well. He's just he's young, he's full of vitality, and he loves gaming. I mean, he has 1 million gamer score, and now he's come across to the Xbox. So he's not a Sony pony. He's not console exclusive. He's just everything, and it's inspiring if you're a spam hunter to see this. And he's positive as well, which is so important. I'm sure he doesn't love every game that he plays, but he knows when not to bitch about it as well. So he loves what he's doing, and I'm enjoying watching the ride. So prepare yourself. Number 316, Blind Men NA Vita. Number 317, Hello Lady Superior Dynamis. Number 318, Blind Men ASPS4. Number 319, Football Game EU PS4. Number 320, Breeder EU PS4. Number 321, Rush Rover NA Vita. Number 322, Thunderpaw NA Vita. Number 323, Late Shift JP. Number 324, again, Dramatical Murder Recode. Number 325, JP PS4. You start to feel like a computer there, but that's a lot of games. I mean, none of them take more than 2 minutes, but still a lot of games. And, I know that his current concern is he's going to hit 350 before Hannah Montana actually arrives because of the postage situation, which I think he said like 20 games, 20 plats in 6 days. That's his buffer zone. So we'll see what happens, but hopefully Hannah makes it to him. Look, I'm going to butcher your name, sir. And the wonderful thing now is because it's just me, you don't have to hold your hate. It's clear when someone does something wrong now. It's full onus is on me. So Renichi, look, I apologize. I really do, sir. Number 145, Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. It's a big game. It's a big game. I have Resident Evil 7 sitting on my sideboard. I was like, I was going to start it last night, and I'm going to share something, because if you've made it this far, you probably can handle this, you probably want something that you find interesting at some point. But I don't know if this happens to anyone else, and I'd love to hear about this, but when I play at night, if I play a really long session, like last night I played Persona 5, longs, like a long session for me is like 4 hours. I think I probably played from like 8 to 12:30ish with maybe a little break, no real break. So 4.5 hours or something. I get a little bit wired. from playing, so I can't sleep. But then if I try and sleep, like I don't have nightmares. I'm an adult. I'm a serious person, But I tend to have nightmares. Like if I try and sleep straight after I've played for 4.5 hours at night, and my reoccurring nightmare is that someone's pushing down on my throat, so I can't breathe. I think as a child I was always fascinated that someone might abduct me and get me out of my family situation. Never happened, but it was a fantasy of sorts, I suppose. But it's grown into this thing. But it's the only time it happens when I do a big gaming session. So you're probably sitting there going, "Wow, explains a lot." He's definitely lost it. But I wonder if do you get wired as well, listeners? Do you get that wired or whatever? But sort of intense because I sometimes I scream as well, and my partner gets a bit frustrated. I think so apparently at 1:30 in the morning it went off this morning. So, but look, the boogeyman from under the bed didn't get me. But that is what I was thinking. Like if I play Resident Evil at night, because you got to play a horror game at night. I play a long session and I'm already freaked out. Imagine what could happen. Terrifying. More so for him than me, but it is what it is. Zador VP number 461, Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's a massive game. Congratulations, sir. I know he said quite different, but we don't need to go into that because everyone and their dog is going to play that. Dat1 Seagull 100% at Mass Effect 3. Congratulations, sir, after getting the plat recently. That is massive. We then move on to Eigenspace. Eigenspace number 102, Adventure Time, Pirates of the Entridian. Most glitchy game I've played in a while. Look, I've only played the first 2 hours or so, then the guide freaked me out. Because there's only like one missable, which is probably not missable, I don't know. But it freaked me out enough to stop because it was just the pressure, the anxiety of that one missable trophy was too much for me. But you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting with an adventure type game. So you knew that before you started it, I think, Eigen. Number 103, Little Dragons Cafe, Ultra Rare Platinum. That's a massive platinum. That's a massive grind, that game. That's a really fun game. It has this weird rhythm game, like button prompt pusher on the beat or something for making the meal. I believe that's the game. It's kind of strange, and it's sort of, you've got to actually get it right, otherwise you don't get the right grading. But a lot of resource grinding in that game as well. So I imagine there's a guide now. I know at the time when we were all playing it a bit there wasn't, but it's a great game. Highly Japanese, obviously. And then number 106, A Rose in Twilight. I don't know anything about this game other than I saw you've been playing it the last few days. So congratulations there. Then we come to Mindy, The Mind is a City. Number 616, Castlevania Requiem, also trophy 25,000. So I know that was a massive one for her there, and a milestone as well. So congratulations, Mindy. That is wonderful. And then Ed the Shed 2014, number 90, Burly Men at Sea, a fun but short game, and thanks to Velvet for a great text guide. Of course, Velvet, friend of the show, wonderful text guide writer, and also an event organizer on PlayStationTrophies.org. They ran a fantastic, it was basically a spam fest, really, of how many trophies. I think they needed 45,000 or something in the month, or this is close to that number or whatever. And I know that they met it. It was a ridiculous number of trophies. I mean, some people there got 2,000 in the month. I know Velvet got a lot as well. So that's crazy. So congratulations. And quite a good one. Yeah, that one as well there, Ed the Shed. Then number 91 for Mr. Shed. What color is your attribute? That's your standard Japanese VN. Well done, sir. Number 92, Neon Junctions. Used another great guide from Velvet as well. So that's good. Yeah, her guide is excellent there. A text and picture guide. Well done. The East Side, he's back. I think he slowed down for a bit there with Final Fantasy 12, but back here, another big game. Number 641, Hitman Blood Money. And look, one of the things, a little more behind the scenes, listeners, is most of the interviews we do, they don't fall through. They work, the systems and the technology allows us to a faction. Sometimes it takes a while to get it to work. But I know the one with De Eastie, it didn't happen and it didn't work. So we'll see, I'll reach out to you again in a month or two and you can see how you feel about the new format and what you want to do there. So, of course, no problems either way. Then it warmed my heart to see Australian Plat join the with a bit of nudging, join the community. So look, I don't need to go into details. This is a second account for somebody, a new account for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. But this is a really lovely gentleman as well. He keeps a very low profile. He pretends like he's a high spam gamer because he does play a ton of spam, but he's also highly skilled, and to be honest, I think he is probably one of the highest skilled gamers in Australia for what he plays at the moment. And I mean, he's definitely the most prolific in that he plays everything and he plats basically everything. So it's wonderful to see him back under a new name and doing doing fantastically well. I'm pretty sure he's the person that will run me down, if the alcohol doesn't get me first. And then Donk noticed I joined this community and told me to spam a little. Here's a fresh one I got today. And, it's a joke. It's a joke on me because I'm a low-skilled gamer. So he puts Surgeon Simulator VR, and he got both of them in one day, which high-skilled game. So congratulations, sir. Azura Von, number 43, Azura, Azure Lane, Crosswave. It's a lovely alliteration there for me, sir. That's fantastic. It's a good game. I have this. I just haven't had the time to put into it, but I read good things. So a biggish sort of game, medium size. Congratulations. I'm styling on ya, bro. This guy is fantastic. He really is. If you have not read his constructor guide yet, you need to get on that. It's wonderfully, it's punny, it's got Harry Potter, it's got a bit of everything in there. Look, he even put a link to our show in there, which is just insane. He might be regretting that now at this point, he might be doing a quick edit, I don't know, in the next few days, but he did put it in, which, I appreciate. And look, I appreciate that he got it through that site. That was an achievement. I know there's a few people that have listened to us in the past that try and run things by some of these sites, but it's good to see we have another one loosely with us at this time. And here's here 100% game, Deer Simulator. I think it's my 400% game. Though I could be wrong. Dear me, what a staggering experience it was just for a couple of bucks. I missed the bucks reference until this morning, so the second time reading it. It's good. Yeah, you're clever. You are clever, so I like it. Daryl 3, Spooky 5U, Destiny 2, 100% completion. Well done, sir. It's a massive, massive game. Teresa, number 643, Snaky Bars. Look, I know Snaky Bars is getting a bit of love with people. It's got nothing to do with us, but it's just great to see that it is, because I think it's one of those games you start playing, you're like, how cool is Snaky Bus? And like 3 minutes later, you're like, what the fuck is going on? Why did I waste my money on this? But it is fun. Look, it's a simple plat as well, under an hour or whatever. It's got a 420 trophy in it. How can you not like it? Number 644, Freak Out Calamity TV show. That's good. There's another person playing this too. Would have been better as a VN. That's a bit tough. The story is good. Maybe that's what you mean. The story was pretty funny, but I thought the gameplay was okay. I quite enjoyed it, but I'm not sure. Perhaps not. I do like those type of garbagey type things though. Gaz Davis, number 51, Batman Telltale game. Really enjoyed this one. Preferred it to the Walking Dead ones. Yeah, look, I agree too. So it's fantastic, and I assume you haven't played the second one yet, although you may have. You may be stacking the first one or something and have already done the second, but they're both good. So I know that there's some issues or whatever. I think it's in the second one with drops and, maybe the head isn't fully formed on some of the characters, but they're small things. I mean, look, Assassin's Creed released Unity without heads, and, it was fine, it worked. So it doesn't matter if the head's there or not. You can fill it in with your mind, you know what's going on. But look, there's a chance they fixed that before they went out the back door. There's also a chance they didn't, but it's worth playing because the story is good. And then a new member, Mr. Terminator XY19. He is the moderator of the Ika Menzi fan club, PlayStation 4 community. So it's wonderful to see you here, sir, and more power to the great Ike, as he seems to have broken PSN profiles. If you look, his number doesn't go up anymore. It hasn't for months, but rest assured he's still gaming hard and fast. Number 262, Word Wheel by Paugi, PS4 EU, a classic easy plat for every trophy hunter who loves to puzzle. And number 263, Word Sweeper by Paugi, PS4 EU. That's fantastic, sir. So look, we've come to the end. I know that was a lot to get through today. I know it was a loose episode. But that's a binding episode. It gives you something to hold on to, something to listen to, something to help you pass the week in isolation if that's where you are. So, as I said at the start, it's been a wonderful journey to this point. And if this is the ending of your journey with me and with Push2Plat, that is, so be it as well. It's been wonderful to have you along. If you're a new listener and you're thinking, well, it wasn't great, but how much worse can it get next time? Then I urge you to come back and we will see. We will see. And if you're a Patreon, look, I like to toot my own horn a little bit, but I'm enjoying writing this plastic instrument thing. I hope there's some interest in this as well as we go, because it is a fascinating story of the rise and fall of the plastic guitar. It got to such heights before it came crashing down. terrifyingly. And the money involved as well, fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So, of course, if that does interest you, that will be available, I thought next week, but I think it's coming out earlier now. I think I'm going to push it through. We'll see. So you would need to join the Patreon as well if you like that. Obviously, that content will not be released at a later date, unfortunately, unless you are a Patreon. So something to consider, I suppose. So if you want to reach out to me, I'm also narrowing my scope on social media, because why not? So we do have a Twitter. It's Push2Plat, whatever, at Twitter, on Twitter. But, take your life in your own hands. If you message us through there, it may or may not come through. There is an email, push2plat@gmail.com. Similar situation. The best place to reach me is on Discord. You can loop me through the listener Discord, the Push2Plat listener Discord, which there will be a link in the show notes. Please jump into the PlayStation 4 community. I see we're up to 61 people. So if we could get to 62, well, that would be one more than 61, which would be, amazing. And then, as I said, we're on 89 subscribers on YouTube, which is, it's phenomenal or whatever. So, if we could get that to 100, as I said, the magic doors open, and then we see what happens after then. It will be interesting for us all. I will let you know what happens, of course, if we do reach that. The sideshow, a Push2Plat level cap, also coming out on Friday. I think you can hear in listeners that I'm tired, but I'm looking forward to the break. I'm looking forward to refreshing. I'm looking forward to coming back even stronger. There's still so much to say. In closing, I'd like to thank those people that have also been reaching out in the last month on the messages on PSN. It's been fantastic to hear your stories as well. I know what is said in this show, so you don't have to blow my trumpet. But hearing what you're enjoying playing or whatever, and knowing that the voice is accompanying you occasionally through these times and through these games is in all seriousness, it's a wonderful thing. I had no idea. It's very honest, I suppose. But I had no idea when we started it would reach this many people in so many countries now. And, again, it's a small number compared to a massive thing. But for a hobbyist thing, I think it's acceptable, And I also know that this is extremely hardcore gamers, predominantly that listen to us, And I hope that you get a sense that is being respected, on this end as well. So until next week, listeners, have a wonderful week, and as I said, if it is time to part, there are so many other wonderful podcasts. Go and support them, reach out, say, I've had enough of where I was, I'm ready for a new experience. Go to the Platcast, go to the Loot Bros, go to the game stuff, go wherever you like, do whatever you like, because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, is that we're having fun, we're laughing, we're smiling, and we're earning those trophies and achievements. Have a wonderful 2 weeks. I hope to speak to you all in the future, but I'm sure we'll catch up either way. See ya. Push2Plat is written, conceived, and edited by CJ Anderson in Adobe Audition. Push2Plat can be found on all good podcast providers, plus YouTube. YouTube uploading handled by repurpose.io. Push2Plat wishes to thank Patreon producers Olsero and Zador VP. If you wish to support the show, jump onto Patreon and search Push2Plat.